there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today I'm going to do a really quick and simple video around colouring vellum. This is something that I often forget to do and I really love how simple it is and the look that it gives us. Now I'm going to be using a couple of things today. One is this stamp set here. Now this is like one of those stamp sets that is absolutely perfect for so many different techniques, and I will probably be bringing you some of them in the coming few weeks, but nonetheless this one is called the Delightful Daisy stamp set. This is a Julie Hickey Designs stamp and I absolutely love the giant big clean clear flower and then the giant big leaf that goes with it. It does have some text down the bottom and that is gorgeous too, and it also has one tiny little flower added to it as well, but honestly the big flower and the big leaf are perfect. Now I'm going to be doing some heat embossing and I use the Lawn Fawn vellum for this. I love the Lawn Fawn vellum. It is a heavier weight vellum and that means that when I'm going to heat emboss it, I'm not going to get any warping at all. Some vellums, when you apply your heat gun to them, are going to shrivel up because of course they are plastic. So it is important to find one that is going to work for this technique, and the Lawn Fawn one is one that I stick with time and time again. You can do this kind of embossing, you can do dry embossing with embossing folders, so many different things with all the one type of vellum. So I have stamped this out with some embossing, sticky embossing ink. This is the Maker Forte one, but any are going to work. Then I'm going to pop some white superfine embossing powder over top of this one. I do prefer to use the superfine embossing powders because this way they can cover the really solid images as well as the really fine detail designs, and that means I don't have to have two bottles of the embossing powder. I just like to have the least amount of tools and things in my little craft space. So I'm going to heat these. You can see that the vellum is not even looking like warping, which is so important. And even though I'm going to move my heat gun around and get these all melted and ready to cut out. Now, when I'm looking at things to fussy cut, this is something that I look at very closely when I'm purchasing a stamp. If I think I'm going to fussy cut it, I very rarely buy dies, coordinating dies. And in fact, I don't think this stamp set has any, but I didn't bother to look either, but I don't think it does. Now, I am going to always look really closely at how easy the image is going to be to fussy cut. I like this flower because it has these smooth edges and it has thick edges. Now that's important when you're fussy cutting. The thicker edges means that you are able to, you don't have to be quite so careful, and it won't matter if you cut off a little bit of the design because it will still look fine when you're going around the edges. And I don't want a flower that has lots of crinkly petals because that makes fussy cutting hard. This has smooth edges and it's going to work well every time. I can glide the scissors around and these are done in no time. So this is my kind of flower when I'm thinking about fussy cutting. Now I'm going to colour these really quickly using some alcohol markers. Now there are a few tips that I have for you when it comes to colouring with alcohol markers on vellum. The first one, I am actually, for the first flower, is I'm going to cut this in half because this just saved me from having to cut out a whole nother flower and stamp a whole nother flower, even though I want there to be 6 colours. So this is going to work out well for me. Now, tip number 1 when colouring with alcohol markers on vellum. You want to colour on the back side, so not on top of the embossing, but on the back side, and this also means that you can be pretty messy. Now, also another amazing thing about doing this technique is that your blending does not need to be anywhere near perfect. You do not need to spend time because honestly, when you turn it over, you can barely see the change in color. I mean, you can notice it, but it's not something where you'll be able to pick up the fine detail where it changes from one to the next. So you can really speed through this and you can see that I am almost scribbling. When I tell you that this is a really speedy way to do colouring, I mean this is a really speedy way. Now, of course, there are other ways to do this, and you can definitely try other inks or things that you have on hand, but these alcohol markers for me are super speedy. These happen to be the Spectrum Noir TriBlend markers, which means there are 3 pens, a light tone, a medium tone, and a dark tone, all in one barrel, which means that I don't even have to think about matching the colors and making sure that they're all the different tones of each color and all sorts of things. All the work is done for me. I pick up the color that I want and I automatically know I have 3 shades of that. So that is perfect for the type of alcohol marker coloring that I do. Now, alcohol marker coloring, I'm not professional at it. I'm not good at it. I would say I just kind of scrape through. Once I got these pens, I definitely felt more comfortable doing it. Prior to this, I wouldn't have even put it on film because, as I said, not my thing. But with these pens, it definitely makes it doable. They also come in a brush tip. This is the bullet nib tip, and I prefer this for the type of coloring that I do. But you can definitely get both sets. I got the Essentials set. I think there are 24 markers, which means 72 or so kind of different colored pens. Because, of course, there are 3 per barrel, so that is good value for me. Now, I have a couple of embossing folders here. The one on the right is called Woven, and this is kind of like a linen texture, and the one on the left was the Crochet Mandala. Now, these are both gorgeous, but I'm going to go with the Clean and Simple Woven one here. I really love this texture just for some very quiet background noise. Now, of course, when I'm putting this together, I am kind of going in a rainbow-ish order. That's just what I felt like today, but I'm just going to pop these all around the outside to create a gorgeous border. Could you do this with another flower stamp or a different image altogether? Absolutely. Now, I am trying out this product, Sticky Specks. Now, this is a whole lot of tiny dots of adhesive, and I cut these into smaller pieces just because I find that more manageable, and I have been trying these out. I'm going to reserve judgment for the moment. I have really only tried them with VELLUM, coincidentally, 3 times in a row, 3 projects in a row. I think I will reserve judgment until I have used them for a little bit longer and use them on paper when I'm using them with cardstock and things, but they did work well, and you kind of just press the item into it and then take them off, and it's full of sticky dots on the back. It is pretty permanent. When I tried to remove these, I think it says repositionable on the front, but it feels like a little bit, if you just press lightly, you can reposition it, and then when you press down solidly, it is going to stay put, because when I tried to remove some of these from cardstock as a test run, they ripped the cardstock, so they were definitely very sticky. So I will keep using these for a little bit and see what I think. Have you used these before? Let me know in the comment section down below how you found them most useful, or if you found them useful. But yeah, it's always fun to try a new product, and I can see how it would be really helpful when sticking down really small, skinny, slim elements. So in fact, in a minute, I'm going to give that a go with my sentiment. So I have these are from Sizzix. I'm going to get out the happy birthday. I knew who this card was going to before I created it. Even though I didn't specifically know the direction of the card, daisies are her favorite, so I thought that this card, the flowers just matched up really nicely, so it was meant to be. So I'm getting out a little happy birthday. I'm going to die cut this into some black cardstock because there is a lot of white going on already in this card, and I just want this to stand out a little bit. So this die cuts beautifully. I'm going to save that negative there, the die cut negative, because it has the little top to the eye in it, so I don't want to lose that at this point. And I figured I would keep using the dots and see what I thought. They did come off pretty cleanly, like there wasn't any sticky residue around each of the letters. I did like that, but as I said, I have just begun using these, and I have mainly used them with VELLUM, so we'll work on using them with cardstock, and I'll be able to form a bit more of an opinion. So happy birthday, I think that really stands out in the middle there, and I have popped this on a black card base as well. In the middle, I just pop a white sheet of paper. Sometimes I may even stamp a daisy or two in some black, just kind of coming off the edge on the inside, and that will carry on the pattern. But other than that, that, I hope that you have enjoyed this quick video on how to colour your vellum, one of the many ways that there are, but this is the quickest and the easiest in my opinion. Thank you so much for joining me today. As per usual, I will leave links to the products in this video down below. I also have the Buy Me a Coffee link in case you are interested in supporting my channel, which I appreciate so much, so very much. Thank you to everyone who is watching and commenting and liking. It means so much to me. Thank you, and thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.